everyone. This is Dr. Jennifer Harris, and I've been thinking a while that it was time to do another video blog series. And I've been thinking about for quite a bit this whole idea of this pattern that I've been seeing, not only in myself, but in my clients and in the world around us, and how relationships um, are driven in a way. And the word that keeps coming to mind is gaslighting, and yet a unique form that I see more often, which is self-gaslighting. Now, I really wish there was another name for gaslighting, because gaslighting is one of those things where the name doesn't tell us really what it means. And it's also something that gets thrown around a lot, almost like a word gets used so often it loses its meaning. So sometimes we can hear words like trauma and think we understand what that means because we hear it so often. Gaslighting has become so popular in modern day, current day, I should say, not modern day, current day pop psychology and TikTok and Insta Reels and all of these different things. And it's a really interesting phenomenon because not only does it affect the person who is receiving the gaslighting, but the way that the practice of gaslighting over time causes us to internalize that other person's perspective, so that even when that person may go away, even when that relationship we escape, or that person passes away, or whatever it is, they've done such a good job at training us. We don't even need them around anymore, and we still have that voice programmed into us. So let's start with a quick, what is gaslighting? And why is it called that? So it is based on an old play in which the husband intentionally messed with the lights, which were gas lights, in the house. And when the wife would comment on it, he would tell her she was crazy. You're not seeing reality. How can you think that? How can you think the lights are changing? What are you, crazy? And borrowing from that experience to name this process of psychological manipulation over time, to say, you don't know what you're talking about. What you just experienced is wrong. What you just think you experienced is wrong. So at the core of gaslighting is planting, watering, fertilizing, and growing seeds of extreme self-doubt in the other person. You start to doubt your sanity. You start to doubt your perspective. If someone slaps you across the face, you're so used to not being right. You're like, I don't think that maybe just even happened. Did I just really experience that, or was that just a fluke of my imagination? And over time, this diminishing and belittling and even humiliation of your own experience causes you to not even try. It, in many ways, the psychological result of it, the result of this almost psychological warfare, is that the receiver of the gaslighting comments almost just gives up. I'm going to be wrong anyway, so I'm just not even going to, I'm not going to think, I'm not going to share, I'm not going to feel, I'm not going to, and gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the interesting thing is that when people must diminish someone else's reality to feel right, that bucket never gets filled. So the person who is the gaslighter, the one that is constantly, through criticism and words and tone and body language and behavior, are planting the seeds of self-doubt, are causing the other person to question their judgment, question their ability to perceive, question their senses even. That is a way of control. And in my experience, the people that desire control over is a bucket that is never filled because that bucket is meant to replace a sense of self, a sense of identity, a sense of knowing who you are that doesn't exist. Using other people's manipulation to fill your own bucket never works. Never works. So there's no reality in which gaslighting stops because the gaslighter gets tired of it. He may get tired of you, or she may get tired of you because you might not have any more energy to be sucked out of. You've been diminished and squished down to the smallest possible sponge. They may be done with you. Move on to their next person. But you will never be able to feel, think, communicate your point of view in a way that they will receive. They can't because they don't have enough ability to be able to see a different point of view as anything other than a threat. This happens in relationships sometimes where we say, I can't understand why you say I hurt you because, in my point of view, I did nothing wrong. From my point of view, this makes total sense to me. And it's a shift away from being able to see multiple perspectives as bad and wrong because they're different than mine, to the ability to acknowledge that other perspectives exist without having to make someone singularly right and the other person singularly wrong. In most cases, I don't know if there is another way there is always my perspective of what happened and your perspective of what happened. If there's three people in the room, there's going to be three. If there's four people in the room, there's going to be four, and you get more than four, there might be more than four. That doesn't mean that someone's lying. That doesn't mean that someone's trying to be untruthful. It means that if I look at an elephant from this side, it looks like this. You look at it from this side, it looks like this. Neither one of us are wrong. Can I have the space in me because I am growing in confidence in my own sense of self to disagree with you and not have that shake the core of my foundation because my identity, my ego is so weak? That's the question. The thing about gaslighting that gets so interesting is that it is like a drip on a rock over time. That eventually that rock changes shape. It carves out, it hollows out, and forms a pattern in that rock that will be there forever when the water stops. So at the end of the day, we have gaslighting, yes, as a received experience, but then at a certain point, we start participating in it because we start being shaped into that shape. We start to agree. We start to gaslight ourselves before our partner has to even do it. In the past, it would be, I can't believe that bothers you. You're so sensitive. I can't believe you see it that way. Why are you so immature? Why are you so stupid? I can't believe you're that, whatever it is. And we cut out the middleman. We become our own gaslighters because what becomes a habit from outside gets adopted as a habit on the inside. And this is particularly challenging for when we get a little bit older. We're usually a little older when we finally say, enough. Why is my life this way? We have to look back at where did this come from? And all of the years that this has been reality and start to unlearn a very long-term habit. This is not easy. And this is where I love the idea of stories because what has happened is that over time, the gaslighter has implanted a version of truth. It's just a story. It's just a way that they saw the world. It maybe even felt true to them, but it's not truth. It's like I felt this part over here, but that is held within a much greater reality. We all do things that in the moment they're stupid. We all make bad decisions. We all make mistakes. We all have, hopefully not too many, but we all do have some catastrophic failure in our life. But the question is, can that be an outcome of behavior, or does that translate into confirmation of this lack of goodness in my identity? Meaning, if I do make a mistake, that just proves that gaslighter correct. And if that gaslighter is gone, I'm my own worst gaslighter. So I'm the one who flips the switch and the talk and the thoughts and the emotions that go with it to keep me in that wrung out, tiny, squished out spongeness. So I think for a little while, I want to talk about the patterns of self-gaslighting. I'm going to talk about it from my own perspective, from my own experience. So that will be, as a certain aged white woman, I have a context, right? That grew up, in the Midwest. Your experience will be a little different because you're not me. But I think that we can extract patterns that transcend things like gender or location, single or married, young and old. There are certain patterns that come, and at the core, this is a journey of reclaiming the fullness of who we were created to be, to start peeling off and chipping away at the false stories and beliefs that have been, what's the word I'm looking for? On top of, it will come to me in a minute, on top of who we were created to be, who God created us to be, our truest self. They've been kind of like slugged on there. Cleaning that off to reveal is by definition to wrestle with the ways in which we participate, the way that we have been trained to think, and now we're the ones that say the words to ourselves, that think the thoughts, that have the emotions that confirm we believe all the horrible things that people said about us. Are you ready to stop gaslighting yourself? I am. Are you ready to start catching yourself in the act and learn to redirect your thoughts towards the stories that you desire to believe most about yourself and the truth of who you really are and who you've created to be? If so, then hang around with this series for a little while as we learn what it means to name the ways that we gaslight ourselves into submission and the ways in which we can learn to catch it in the act, shift, change course, and overcome it towards freedom and healing so that we can experience what it really means to have deeper goodness and connection in our life. So if that sounds good to you, join me for the remainder of this blog series, and we will see you there. Thanks. Bye.